It was cold, it was dark, and it smelled faintly of tea. A lot of tea. December 16th, 1773, a night that would forever stain Boston Harbor and Britain's pride. You've probably heard of the Boston Tea Party, but the real story is stranger, bigger, and yes, even funnier than you think. Let's dive in. Music swells, cut to title card. Boston Tea Party, the real story. Meet the Sons of Liberty, a band of patriots led by Samuel Adams. These weren't just politicians. We're talking artisans, craftsmen, shop owners, apprentices, and everyday laborers. Famous names? John Adams, John Hancock, Paul Revere. Basically, the Avengers of colonial Boston. On that chilly morning, over 5,000 people crammed into the Old South Meeting House, the biggest building in Boston at the time, to decide what to do with a massive shipment of tea sitting in the harbor. By nightfall, they had their answer. The quick headline, taxation without representation. The slightly longer headline, years of British Parliament slapping taxes on the colonies without giving them a single seat at the table. Tea was a big deal. Colonists drank about 1.2 million pounds of it a year. The British saw dollar signs, slapped taxes on tea, and gave the British East India Company a monopoly. Smugglers like Hancock and Adams didn't love losing business, so they fought back. Officially, it was about rights. Unofficially, let's just say their wallets were involved too. At Griffin's Wharf, 3 ships waited: the Beaver, the Dartmouth, and the Eleanor. All American built, but carrying British-owned tea from China, not India. That night, hundreds of men boarded them. They disguised themselves, not with giant feather headdresses, but with wool blankets, soot-painted faces, and the style soldiers had borrowed from Native Americans during the French and Indian War. Symbolic more than sneaky, they knew most people could tell who they were. For 3 hours, from 7 to 10 p.m., they smashed open 340 chests of tea, over 92,000 pounds, worth about $9,659 then, or over $1.7 million today. Not a single ship was damaged, not a thing stolen, and they even swept the decks afterward. The only casualty? 1 padlock, which they replaced the next day. About 116 names are confirmed, but hundreds took part. Most were under 40. 16 teenagers, only 9 men over 40. They came from Boston, nearby towns, and as far away as Maine. English, Irish, Scottish, French, Portuguese, African ancestry, a very mixed crew for the time. Many fled town right after, fearing arrest. The secrecy was so tight that most took the secret to their graves. The British were not amused. Boston Harbor was shut down under the Boston Port Act until the tea was paid for, which, spoiler alert, it never was. This was part of the Intolerable Acts, which only made the colonies angrier, pushing them toward open rebellion. George Washington supported the revolution, but disapproved of destroying the tea. It went against his beliefs about property rights. Benjamin Franklin even offered to pay for it himself if Britain reopened the harbor. They refused. Oh, and yes, there was a second Boston Tea Party 3 months later when 60 men tossed another 30 chests overboard. Not as famous, but still making waves, literally. No one died. Only one person was injured. John Crane, knocked out cold, thought dead, and hidden under wood shavings until he woke up hours later. That tea? Mostly black bohea tea from China, plus Congo, Souchong, Hyson, and Singlo green teas. Enough to brew about 18.5 million cups. Somewhere, an English tea drinker just fainted. Tories, also called Loyalists or King's Men, were colonists who sided with Britain. They made up about 1/3 of the population, alongside 1/3 patriots and 1/3 who just wanted to be left alone. In the end, the Boston Tea Party wasn't just a protest about tea, it was a turning point. A carefully planned, strangely polite act of defiance that lit the fuse of the American Revolution. So next time you sip your tea, remember, in Boston, they preferred to throw it overboard. If you enjoyed this dive into history, Hit like, tap subscribe, and ring that bell. There's plenty more untold stories brewing.